Good morning, everybody, and happy Saturday. As usual, I am Coach Ray. Thank you for joining me for today's stick mobility class. So for today's class, we are still going to be working on supine position drills, meaning we're going to be on our floor, on our back. So this is a really good class if maybe your back's a little bit touchy, right? Like you just can't load it from a standing position for certain drills. So you'll learn some things that you can actually utilize, especially in terms of taking away certain aspects of stability to focus on certain things to improve your mobility, right? To add in those things. So for today's class, I have two long sticks with me. What you'll see back here, and happy October to you. So what you see back here is I actually have a foam roller. So that's going to be for part of our supine drill positions. What we're going to work on with the foam roller is internal hip rotation specifically. I also have a pad for us to kneel on, right? So that pad is going to act as something we're going to utilize for part of the warm up. And then you're going to need the corner of a wall or something stable for you to press the sticks into, because we are going to do a posterior chain upper body drill from the floor as well. So let's go ahead and get into the class. So the very first thing I want to focus on is the shoulders and chest and stretching out those tissues. So with both sticks here, I'm going to have the bottom of the sticks in line with my toes, and I'm going to have my feet about roughly hip to shoulder width apart here. Now, we've done this drill before in terms of a stretch. However, what we're going to do is we're going to add in tidbits of activation. So I'm going to have my hands at roughly about shoulder height. You can even go a little bit higher. And I'm going to lightly drive the sticks down, just about roughly 20%, nothing too significant. And I'm going to start to hinge my hips back, and I want to get my torso close to the floor. Now, what you're going to notice here is you're going to notice a stretch in the pecs, right? And I want to hold this position. Now, again, we're still driving the stick down 20%. And I'm going to now reverse that tension. So I'm going to try to pull the sticks up off the floor while driving my torso a little closer to the ground. Now I'm going to get that upper back activation. Still getting a chest stretch, and if anything, you're going to get an increased pec stretch. Now from this position here, I'm going to drive those sticks down 20% again. Make sure you're breathing. This is going to feel pretty intense on the pecs. Now, try to pull the sticks off the floor. You're going to notice your chest is going to go a little bit closer to the floor here. Breathe. We're going to ease off. Come up, nice and slow, and relax. We're going to do that one more time. So again, this is mainly to stretch out those pecs, but also get that upper back active, which is those antagonist tissues. So lightly drive those sticks down, right? 20%. Let's go in and hinge back. Good, keep driving those sticks down. It's nice and light, it's nothing too significant here, right? Nice and easy. Now try to pull the sticks off the floor, so try to hover them. Feel that upper back activate. Breathe. Now drive the sticks into the floor again. Try not to change your position. Excellent. Try to pull the sticks off the floor. Breathe. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Come back up. Nice and easy. And relax. Good. Now we're going to focus on shoulder extension. So we're going to still hold that roughly hip to shoulder width stance. The sticks are going to be right on the outside of your feet here, right? So they're not out wide. You want to have them in a little bit closer here. Now with my hands, I'm going to flip my hands upside down. So now I'm in an internally rotated shoulder position here. Now from here, what I want to do, and where you're going to grip is going to depend on your mobility. So if you're really mobile, you can actually have your hands up a lot higher. If you lack a little bit of shoulder mobility, like myself on my extension, you want to start with your hands a little lower. So somewhere between hip and rib cage height. Now from this position, we need to make sure we keep our arms straight or elbows in extension. And now I'm gonna drive those sticks down about roughly 20%, and I wanna keep my shoulders away from my ears. So I don't want this to happen. Shoulders down, and then I'm gonna bring the sticks out and then behind me. And I wanna keep a nice, good, tall posture here. You're gonna feel a stretch in those biceps. If your biceps are tight, this is gonna feel pretty darn good. We're gonna bring them back forward, still driving those sticks down lightly, only about 20%. Don't wanna go too crazy here. Now we're gonna go back again. Keep driving the sticks down into the floor. Tall posture. Breathe. Good. Come back forward. Excellent. Let's go one more time. Breathe. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Come back forward. And ease off. Wonderful. Now we're going to place one stick down for the time being. We're going to work on a little bit of rotation. So we just went through stretching out the chest, getting the pecs nice and loose, activated upper back. So now we're going to get into the ninja flow instead of the slap shot, because I want to add in a little bit more of that chest stretch and also get to a different position. So my feet are going to be out wide. Again, this is going to depend on whatever your mobility is. So adjust accordingly. You can wiggle your feet in and out of the stretch if you need to in order to make some micro adjustments here. Now I'm going to have the bottom of the stick on the inside of my right foot, and I want to have my right hand, I'm going to have it somewhere around chin level, chin to shoulder level, somewhere around that area. And the hand starts out to the side, so arm is extended. I want to drive the stick down lightly, 20%, and I'm going to hinge. Now the stick is going to be in line with that rib cage pec area. So it's not above like this. You want to keep it back. Now from here, I'm going to reach down towards the bottom with my thumb facing down. I'm going to pull the stick apart. Now I'm going to lunge to my left, driving off that right leg. Excellent. I'm going to come back over to the right. And I'm going to bring the stick in front here. This allows me to get into stretching out that lat. Now I'm going to go to the left again, bringing the stick back in line with the shoulder, still pulling apart. Good. Now to the right. Breathe. Now to the left again. And to the right. Excellent. Back to center. Let go with the left hand. And now we're going to come up nice and easy. Switch sides. Sticks on the inside of that left foot now. Try to get that hand roughly around the same height. And you can always adjust your hand as you need to as well. So I'm going to have that slight bend. I'm going to hinge. Keep the stick in line with the rib cage shoulder area. Take that right hand, reach across, thumb facing down, pull apart, lunge to the right. Breathe. Now to the left. Excellent. To the right. And left. Wonderful. One more time each way. To the right. And left. Good. Back to center. Let go with that right hand. Slowly come up. Excellent. Now wiggle those feet in. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Now we're going to get into a little bit more spinal movement. So we're going to work with a circular motion here. We're going to take the stick, place it on top of our upper back. So think about if you're doing a high bar squat, it's kind of where you want the stick, right? You can go with it a little bit lower if you like, if that's just a little bit more comfortable. But you can go with the high bar or low bar kind of position here. Now we're going to have our hands completely out straight. So we want full extension of those arms. So you want to try to reach as much as you can here. Now from this position, feet are still gonna be roughly about hip to shoulder width apart. Squeeze those glutes, right? So we don't want a lot of movement from the hips. We actually wanna keep this movement mostly in the spine here. And so the first part of this is gonna be a little weird because what we're gonna do is we're effectively going to glide the rib cage in a lateral motion here, right? And so what we're looking for is the hips to stay exactly where they're at. And as we glide from one side to the other, we want to think about if somebody were pulling the stick to one side, right? And then pulling over to the other side. But again, we're doing this without getting a lot of hip movement. So squeeze those glutes, nice and tight. Hands are out. We're going to do a shift to the left. And you only shift as much as you possibly can. Now we're going to shift to the right, left. We're just segmenting. We're just really getting that mid back, right, and the rib cage to move. Left, right. It's a little weird, right? Left, but we're just trying to disassociate the hips from the ribs, right? Let's go one more time each way. Left and right. Good. Now we're going to go with a circular motion. So I want to look at the end of the stick here, and I'm going to turn to the side for this. You want to look at the end of the stick to make sure it's going in that circular motion, right? So as we go in that circular motion, we're getting rotation, we're getting a little bit of lateral flexion, we're going through extension and flexion. So we're getting all different types of movement from the spine. So we're going to keep the glutes nice and tight. Again, squeeze the glutes. Hands are out. And then we're going to start creating a circle. So I'm going to start to move the stick in a circular motion. And it doesn't got to be a huge movement, but that movement is coming from the spine. Lower body, not moving. Right? I want to disassociate. That's the important part here. You keep those circles small if you're having issues with controlling it, right? If you want to go this small here, this is a good spot to start. And then you can increase the size of that circle. Breathe. Let's go reverse. So I'm going to go backwards. And this is a good way to test if you're feeling a little sticky with certain parts of the movement. If you're noticing that you're feeling a little sticky when you rotate to one side, or that's the certain parts of the circle, that's where you want to kind of focus the movement. Good. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. And relax. Good. We're going to pick up the second stick. We're going to go stick taps. And what we're going to do with the stick taps is we're just going to focus on adducting and abducting. Meaning we're going to get that foot, or that hip more particularly, across the midline and as far away from the midline as we can. And so we're going to start on the left hip. And what I want to do here is I want to have my right stick. Think about where your center line is and then move the stick over about roughly 2 inches. Right? So almost basically in line with the pinky toe of your right foot. Now I'm going to have the stick angled in towards me. My left stick, I want to have that out to my 9 o'clock position. Sorry, I almost forgot here. And I want to have my left hand at roughly about shoulder height. Both hands are at shoulder height here. Now we're going to create tension into the floor by driving both sticks down at 30%, right? Keep your right leg straight. Do not bend that knee as you actually start to do this drill. So drop both sticks down, about 40%. Right leg is straight. I'm going to hover that left foot off the floor, and I want to keep my hip in a neutral position. I'm going to bring my left foot forward and bring it across to touch the right stick. You're going to feel that adductor line get nice and active here. And now I'm going to bring it out to the left stick and push. Good. Bring it across to the front. Push. Good. Bring it out. Push. Nice and easy. Good. Bring it forward. Push. Excellent. Bring it out. Push. Just trying to get a little bit of activation here. forward, push, excellent, bring it out, and push. Back in, and ease off. Again, this is just taps. Nothing too significant in terms of how much tension we're generating. So we're gonna line up the same way on the opposite side now. And the cool thing about this drill is you can adjust the stick. So if I wanted to adjust this stick out to be a lot further, to make it a lot harder to get to that position, you absolutely can. So we're gonna go the same thing. We're gonna drop both sticks down, left leg straight, hover that right foot, bring it forward, bring it to the left stick, push. Good. Bring it to the right, push. Good. Left, right, good. Left, push into that stick, right, left, excellent, right, one more time each way, left, and right, back in, and ease off. Good. Now we're going to go to the floor for some of our drills. Now for the very first drill, we're going to focus on internal hip rotation. So if you're anything like me, my internal hip rotation is not that great. So what we're going to do, this is where you want to have that foam roller available, right? Now, what we're going to do with the foam roller is we're going to use it as a way to create tension on the adductor line. So when we go through our internal rotation, we're not just trying to dump that hip out, but we're actually compressing. So we're getting the adductor line, working all the way up into those core tissues, and then working with that internal rotation. So this is more of a higher level of active internal hip rotation. The cool thing about this drill is that you don't got to worry about keeping a nice, good, tall posture, but this allows you to really focus on just the hip and not have to worry too much about spinal position. So let's go to the floor here. Again, you can use a foam roller or you can even use a yoga block if you have it. And if you don't have either one of those, you can always use your hands by putting your fists together and using that as a way to work on creating that tension. So technically you don't even need equipment for this, but it's good to actually have something. So I'm actually going to turn this way first, and you're going to see how insanely terrible my internal hip rotation is. So what we're going to do is we want to have the foam roller right in line, right below where the knee is. And so I'm going to have both legs at roughly 90 degrees, and I want to be in a position where my feet and knees are in contact with the foam roller. Now notice the foam roller is in line with my center line. I can actually create more tension by kind of compressing on the foam roller with my upper body. So it's not just my lower body that's active, but now I'm getting full body integration here. So I'm going to come up, my knees are at 90 degrees, and I'm going to compress. I'm going to compress the knees about 30%, compress upper body about 30%. I'm going to start on my right side, and I'm going to internally rotate, so try to get my foot as far away from the foam roller as I can. Hold that position for 8 seconds. 2, 1, back in. Good. If you're cramping, take your time. Let's go again. So 30%. Going to go on that right side. Internally rotate. 3, 2, 1, back in. Let's go one more time. Keep compressing. Internally rotate. 3, 2, 1, back in, and ease off. Now, what you should be feeling is you're going to feel those adductors get nice and active here, right? But you're also going to feel the TFL and those internal rotators of the hip, which also your glute medius is partially a part of, start to get really, really active there. And you want to pay attention to what side feels worse or does not have as much rotation as the other, because that's the side you really want to put a lot more focus on. So So you can do this for 3 reps, you can do this for 5 or 8. I'm gonna turn to the side here. Or you can do this particularly before a squat or deadlift day, right? So what I'm gonna do here, we're gonna do the same thing. Now the main objective here also as well is that low back needs to be on the floor, right? You shouldn't have that arch. If you're moving in and out of this position, that posterior, too much pelvic movement, you're taking away from the exercise. So low back, flat to the floor. So let's go into the other side. I'm gonna be here. So same thing, compress. Upper body, compress the knees. Internally rotate that other hip. Hold. 3, 2, 1, back in. Good. Keep that compression. Drive those knees in. Rotate. Hold. 3, 2, 1, back in. Excellent. Let's go one more time. Rotate. Try to get that foot as far away from the foam roller as possible. 3, 2, 1, back in. Ease off. Excellent. So, if you're looking for a way to really work on that internal hip rotation, I think that's probably one of the better drills, especially if you're just starting off with it, or if you're really trying not to load the back and trying to minimize as much excessive movement as possible. Now I'm going to go into the upper body drill that I wanted to get into, which is this is for, you're going to get those mid, lower traps, posterior deltoid, you're going to get the rhomboid, you're going to get everything on that posterior side. So for this one, you want to be a little careful with how much tension you're putting, but I'm going to use the squat rack here to get into that position. So as we do this, you need to be conscious of what your back is doing. Meaning, you want to try to keep a neutral spine. So I'm going to lay in that supine position again. Right, I'm going to be here. Now the sticks are effectively, or ends of the sticks, are right outside my shoulders here, or a little wider than my shoulders. Now where we grip the stick depends. So for one, it's height and also limb length. But as we get into this position here, my hands are out roughly about where my hips are. So I'm not in this position here, I'm actually gripping a little bit lower. This allows me to get a little bit more range with this drill. Now I want to have my arms out a bit, almost like a Y position. We're going for a Y position, not an I position. So from here, with my thumbs facing up towards my face, I want to keep a nice, good neutral posture. So I'm going to lightly posteriorly tilt my pelvis so my low back is flat to the floor. Now from here, I'm going to push the sticks back behind me until my torso is nice and upright, or as much as I can. 3, 2, 1, back down, nice and slow. Excellent. Ease off. So this is you want to go control here. You don't want to plop down. Let's go again. So tuck the pelvis, drive those sticks back, get that torso up. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Down nice and slow. Excellent. Good. Let's go again. Let's go 2 more. Arms are straight. Keep those elbows in extension. Drive the sticks back. Come up. 3, 2, 1. Down. Excellent. Let's go one more time, folks. Drive the sticks back. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Down. And ease off. Excellent. Good. Now we're going to turn around actually. So this is going to be a fun one. So everybody's a little familiar, or should be a little bit familiar, with our standing hip flexion to knee extension drill. We're going to do that on the floor. So again, we're looking at ways to minimize compensatory patterns when we do certain drills. So for this drill, typically what happens is people tend to bend their down leg quite a bit. This takes away that need for stability on that down leg here, which is one of the great things about it. The area that you need to focus on or worry about is what your lumbar spine is doing. So I'm going to turn around. So now my feet are facing this direction. And we're going to line up. You want your hands to be roughly about shoulder height. So from here, make your adjustments. So hands are roughly about shoulder height here. Now we can go from this position, but truth be told, this is going to be really hard because keeping position of the lumbar becomes a lot more challenging when the legs are straight. So my suggestion for this is to kind of pull your legs in a bit, right? You can go from this position, and again, we're focusing on one leg at a time. So the other leg isn't going to be as active. So keeping that posterior tilt, lumbar flat to the floor, we drive the sticks down from here. So let's still focus on that left leg first. So drive the sticks down about roughly 50 to 60% tension. What I'm going to do with my left knees, I'm going to bring that knee up as high as I can. So as high into hip flexion as I can. Now from here, I want to keep the knee exactly where it's at, and I'm going to extend that knee, hold, 3, 2, 1, back down, and relax. Ease off. Good. So we still get those same tissues at rec fem. But now, again, we're taking away certain aspects of stability that's needed for a standing position. So let's go again. So drive the sticks down, 50%. Bring that left knee up as high as you can. Now extend. Try to keep that knee over hip best you can. 3, 2, 1, back down, and relax. Good. Let's go one more time, folks. It's a lot harder than it looks. If you're cramping, that's okay. Take your time. Drive down, knee up, extend, hold, 3, 2, 1, down, and ease off. Good. We're going to relax for a second. We're going to switch sides. So again, if you're having issues or you're having a hard time keeping that down leg straight when you're doing it from a standing position, this is a really, really good regression that still allows you to attack those same tissue lines. So from here, same thing. Drive the sticks down 50%. Bring that right knee up. As much of flexion as you can. Extend. Keep that ankle dorsiflexed. 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee. Back down. Ease off. Good. Drive the stick down. Knee up. Extend. 3, 2, 1. Down. Ease off. Let's go one more time here, folks. Drop down, knee up, extend, hold, 3, 2, 1, good, back down, and ease off. Good. Now if you wanted to make this harder, and let's actually try one rep here just so you can kind of get a feel for it. We're going to keep our opposite leg straight. And what we're going to do, we're actually going to drive that opposite leg into the floor a little bit, right? So do a posterior pelvic tilt, drive that right leg down. We're going to work on that left side. You should be feeling that right glute fire a bit. So drive the sticks down, left knee up, extend, back in, and down. Ease off. Now we're going to switch over to the other side. So drop those sticks down, drive that left leg into the floor, right knee up, extend, and back in, and down. Ease off. Good. So, the good thing about that is now we have more in the arsenal for things to utilize. So, there's ways to progress that and make that harder. We just did one of those progressions, but the next progression from that is just, again, to go to a standing position and then work on those same drills or same movements. So now we're going to get a little bit of our cool down. So we're going to take our pad. What we're going to focus on here is a little bit of an overhead position, working on the shoulder, working on a push-pull. So I'm going to turn to the side here first, actually. I'm going to start with my right knee down. Now, position-wise, we need to keep that pelvis in a posteriorly tilted position, keep that glute nice and active here. So we're going to get not only a stretch in that hip flexor or those anterior tissues like the rec fem, but now it allows us to be in a position where we're not getting a lot of excessive movement, right? We're trying to mitigate that movement or reduce it as much as we possibly can. So I'm going to have my left foot forward, just a bit here. My back foot, plantar flex. So I want my ankle in an extended position, not a flex position. I'm going to have the bottom of the stick in line with my right hip here. Now, bottom of the stick is also about a couple inches in front of the line of the toes. You might need to adjust it as you go along here, but don't be afraid to do that. I'm going to have my right hand up, nice and high. So for me, I can get to the end of the stick here. And I want to keep this right arm straight. I want to keep that elbow in extension as best I can. This might be a challenge. You can always start off lower. So from here, I'm going to drive that back foot down into the floor, and I'm going to do a posterior pelvic tilt and squeeze my right glute. That locks my lower body into place here. My left hand is going to be right in the middle of the stick here with my right hand extended. I'm going to pull down with my left hand, and so reflexively I have to push up with the right. It's going to hold. Good. And I want to drive the stick down lightly. Now I'm going to extend the left hand out a bit, and now I have to pull down with that right shoulder. Good. Pull in with the left hand. Reflexively push up with the right. Breathe. Push out with the left. Reflexively pull down with the right. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. And ease off. Good. We're going to switch sides here. I'll actually turn forward for this one. So now we're going to go left knee down, right leg forward, extending that back ankle, bottom of the stick in line with that left hip. The reason why we're doing that is we want to keep it in line with the shoulder as well, or as much as we can. So I'm going to have left hand up, nice and high. Again, now we're going to activate that lower body. Drive that back foot to the floor, posterior tilt, squeeze that left glute. Now from here, I'm going to pull in with that right hand. Breathe. Now drive out with the right. Good. Pull in. Make sure you breathe. Excellent. Drive out. And ease off. Nice and easy. Nice and slow. Wonderful. Now we're going to move this pad over to the side because we don't need it for right now. Going to pick up our second stick here. So we're going to get into extension and rotation. So I'm sure you probably know by now, I love the T-spine stretch. And so we're going to go with a shoulder width stance, maybe a little bit wider. And I'm going to have the bottom of both sticks about in line with my big toe here. Both hands are going to be roughly about chin height. But again, you can always adjust your hands as you need. If you're coming up higher, you do not have to hinge as far to get to that position, but you don't want to go too high because again, we're adding in rotation to each side here. So for me, I'm going to have my hands roughly about chin level. I'm going to lightly drive the sticks down about roughly 20%. I'm going to drive my hips back, reach my hands out. You're going to feel a nice stretch in that upper back, T-spine, even at the thoracolumbar area. And now I want to clear my head, so I'm going to pull my chin back and I'm going to rotate both sticks to my right. And now I'm in a rotated position. Come back to center. Now I'm going to rotate to the left. Breathe. Back to center. Rotate to the right. Both arms need to come across. Back to center. Now to the left. Good. Back to center. We're going to hang out here. Breathe. Excellent. We're going to come back up and relax. Now we're going to stretch out those hamstrings a bit. So we can do this one of two ways. We're actually going to do both. But for me, when it comes to working with the hamstrings, I like to go from a straddle position, a standing straddle position, or a single leg position. So a single leg position is really good because then it kind of allows you to see like, all right, well, how much hip control do I have? What side feels tighter than the other? So we're going to first start off on that single leg. And so I'm going to have both feet together. I have both sticks angled out in front, resting on my shoulders here, or chest. And so I'm going to go with my right leg first. I'm going to bring my right heel right in front, not too far out, because I still need to keep balance on that left leg or that down leg here. And I want to keep my right ankle dorsiflex. It's super important for this. There's going to be a slight bend to my right knee, really slight. And I'm going to have my hands on the top of the sticks here. Now from this position, I'm going to drive my hips back, and I'm going to work my way reaching down towards the bottom of the sticks. Now I'm only going to go as far as I can maintain a neutral spine. A little bit of flex. That might be okay, but we're actually trying to go with as much of a neutral spine as we can. Also keep in control of that pelvis. Now from this position, keeping my ankle dorsiflex, I'm going to lightly pull my heel into the floor, right? Now I'm going to start to rotate that right hip, and I want rotation at the hip, not at the foot. So I'm going to externally rotate that hip so my foot goes out away from my center line, and then I'm going to internally rotate so my foot goes towards my center line. So externally rotate. You're going to feel a difference in stretch. Now we're getting that outer hamstring. And internally rotate. Now we get more of that medial part of the hamstring. Externally rotate. And internally rotate. Good. Back to center. It's going to come up nice and slow. And ease off. Now we're going to switch sides, and I'll actually turn to the side for this one here. So same thing, feet together, left foot comes right in front here, ankle remains dorsiflexed, soft bend to that left knee. Now from here, we're going to start to drive the hips back. That right leg or down leg can be bent. Only go as far as you can maintain neutral spine. If you can reach down all the way towards the bottom, that's great. It's a good spot to be at. Now from here, keep an ankle dorsiflex, lightly driving that heel into the floor. Now we're going to start to rotate at the hip. So I'm going to externally rotate. Good. Internally rotate, driving that heel down, back the entire time. Externally rotate. Breathe. Internally rotate. External. Wonderful. Internal. Back to center. Come up, nice and slow, and ease off. Now we're gonna go with the standing straddle. So I'll actually kind of go slightly from an ankle. Now we can go out as wide as we want here, right? If you're super mobile, you're gonna get out really, really wide. If you're not as mobile, you don't have to go as wide. But the main thing here is that, for one, we're controlling what our spinal movement is actually doing. But for two, we want to make sure that we're not in a position that we can't get out of, and that we can keep control. We're not dumping our feet out too much as we go into this. We want our feet to actually be in a neutral or forward position, just to make sure that we can actually access those hamstrings, also get those adductors a bit. Now again, you can always adjust as you need to. So for me, I'm gonna go out pretty wide to start off with. I'm gonna have the bottom of the sticks angled out in front. So this might, just even being in this position for a lot of people, this might be enough to facilitate a stretch in the adductors. You can just be in this position for about a minute or so, right? But now we're gonna add in those hammies. So we're gonna have our hands on top of the sticks, just like the last drill here. I'm gonna have a slight bend, really, really, really slight bend to the knees, or basically soft knees, and I'm going to drive my hips back, reaching down towards the bottom of the sticks. Now you'll notice that you can probably get a little bit closer to the floor from this position than the last drill. That is normal. You've also opened up your hips quite a bit, so you don't have your hips blocking how much hip flexion you can get to. Now from this position, again, we're focusing on keeping control of that pelvis. And so if we want to intensify that stretch, I want to shift my hips back, and I'm really going to get into those hamstrings, really get into those adductors here. And if I want to lessen that intensity, I want to shift my hips forward. So the good thing is we can shift our weight on the sticks a bit. We're going to shift back, keep control of that pelvis here, then shift forward. Excellent. Shift back. Now try to lock those knees out, extend those knees, try to flex your quads. Shift forward. Excellent. Let's shift back one more time. Breathe. Excellent. I'm going to bring my hands up. I'm going to push up to that tall position here. And again, this is going to feel like that real big stretch on those adductors. I'm going to wiggle my feet in, nice and slow. And I'll just jump out of it now. Gotta go slow here, folks. All right, let's get one last drill in, which is one of my personal favorites, bow and arrow, bow and arrow. So what we're gonna do here, you can go with the one or two versions. So I'm gonna go with the more quote unquote advanced version, which is gonna be the stick on the inside of my foot, but we can always go with our standard version, which is having a stick on the outside of our foot here. All right, whatever's most comfortable, whatever allows you to get to that good position. Now, with the stick being on the inside of the foot, there's two things. For one, where we're driving changes, right? We gotta go at a more diagonal position, not just lateral position. So we're kind of going down towards the floor a little bit too. So the hips need to follow in that same direction. Hips are still going out to the side. The other aspect here is the closer it is to your center line, the more that angle changes going towards the floor. So it's gonna require a lot more flexibility and mobility. So adjust as you need to. So from here, sticks on the inside of my left foot, left hand is roughly about waist height. Gonna take my right hand up over the top, thumb facing down towards the floor. I'm gonna drive my hips away first. That's the usual first step. And now I'm going to extend my left hand down towards the floor, out to the side, extending those hands. Good, I'm gonna ease off, nice and slow. We're gonna do that again. I'm gonna wiggle over to the left a little bit, or to the right. And I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna change the angle a little bit. So I'm gonna bring it in to my center line, drive my hips out. Then I'm gonna drive my left hand down towards the floor, extending both hands. Get a bigger stretch on that lateral line. 3, 2, 1. Back in, nice and slow, and relax. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So it's on the inside of my right foot here. Left hand over the top, thumb facing down, drive the hips away, extend that hand out. Breathe. 3, 2, 1. Back in. Excellent. Bring the stick in if you like, right? Want a little more of a challenge? Same thing, drive those hips out and then extend the hand down. 3, 2, 1. Nice and easy. And relax. Excellent. And that, friends, concludes today's stick mobility class. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on your busy Saturday. I appreciate you being here. Have a good one and stay safe.